China will make tougher policies and take more stringent actions to achieve the peaking of carbon dioxide emissions before 2030 and strive to neutralise carbon neutrality before 2060.
China just invested an incredible $450 billion on a massive project that was revolutionary. With this massive project, China hopes to mark a major turning point in its dedication to these goals. The scope and financial commitment of the project highlight China's status as a major economic force in the world and a major influence on the direction of future development. Let's learn more about it. Since the turn of the century, China has been a more significant player in Latin America, which has raised concerns about Beijing's influence while also offering economic opportunities. China is now South America's largest commercial partner, surpassing the United States, and its state-owned enterprises are significant investors in the energy, infrastructure, and space sectors. Beijing has increased its military, diplomatic, and cultural clout in the area. It most recently used its influence to help during the COVID-19 pandemic, sending hundreds of millions of vaccine doses, loans, and medical supplies to the area. However, the US and its allies worry that Beijing is leveraging these ties to promote its geopolitical objectives, which include further isolating Taiwan and supporting authoritarian governments like those in Cuba and Venezuela. Although some observers contend that the US could be doing more, US President Joe Biden has committed to increased economic cooperation with Latin America. Biden views China as a strategic competitor in the region. Less than 2% of Latin America's exports went to China in 2000. But the region's subsequent commodities boom was fueled by China's rapid growth and consequent demand. Trade increased at an average annual rate of 31% over the following 8 years, reaching a value of $180 billion in 2010. Trade reached a record $450 billion by 2021. This amount stayed relatively stable in 2022 as well, and some analysts estimate that by 2035 it may surpass $700 billion. China is currently the region's most important trading partner for both South America and all of Latin America after the United States. Soybeans, copper, petroleum, oil, and other raw commodities necessary for China's industrial development are the principal exports from Latin America to the nation. As a result, the region imports a majority of manufactured items with higher value added. Some analysts argue that this trade has caused local sectors to be undercut by cheaper Chinese goods. By 2023, Beijing has had free trade agreements with Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Costa Rica, and Ecuador in place. Additionally, 21 Latin American nations have already ratified China's Belt and Road Initiative. These loans and foreign direct investment from abroad are also very important in fortifying relations with the area. China's foreign direct investment, FDI, in Latin America and the Caribbean in 2022 was around $12 billion, or almost 9% of all foreign investment in the area. A total of $137 billion in loans to Latin American governments was made by the state-owned China Development Bank and the Export-Import Bank of China between 2005 and 2020. These loans were used to finance infrastructure and energy projects, frequently in exchange for oil. These banks are among the top lenders in the region. Loans totaled $813 million in 2022 alone. Venezuela is the largest borrower by far. At present, it has $60 billion in state loans from China, largely for infrastructure and energy projects. That is almost twice as much as Brazil, the second largest borrower. China also has voting memberships in the Caribbean Development Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank. China is making significant investments in hydropower in an effort to lessen its dependency on fossil fuels and fulfill its rising energy demands. Using the force of water to create electricity, hydropower is a low-carbon, renewable energy source. What are the benefits of hydropower? Green and clean is hydropower. Hydropower emits no greenhouse gases or air pollution, which are linked to climate change and health issues, unlike coal, oil, or gas. Water power is adaptable and dependable. Hydropower plants give us grid stability and security by swiftly and efficiently adjusting their production to match variations in the demand for electricity. Hydropower is competitive and reasonably priced. Compared to other energy sources, hydropower can produce electricity at a lower cost of operation and maintenance. Hydropower has several uses and is advantageous. Other services like flood control, irrigation, water supply, navigation, leisure, and tourism can also be offered by hydropower projects. With more than 350 gigawatts planned by the end of 2020, China will have the biggest hydroelectric capacity in the world, producing almost 18% of its total electricity. There is still opportunity for growth in China as a hydropower capacity, which is expected to be more than 600 gigawatts. According to the International Energy Agency, IEA, China's hydropower capacity will increase by an additional 120 gigawatts to 470 gigawatts by 2030. By doing this, China will be able to strengthen its energy security and diversify its energy mix, while still achieving its objective of being carbon neutral by 2060. How does China plan to reduce its carbon emissions? With almost 28% of all greenhouse gas emissions in the world in 2019, China is the biggest emitter in the world. China wants to reach carbon neutrality by 2060 and peak its carbon dioxide emissions by 2030. According to a September 2020 announcement made by President Xi Jinping, this means that China will use artificial or natural methods, such as trees or carbon capture and storage, to offset its emissions. Given that China is the first significant developing nation to establish a net zero objective, was warmly received as a significant boost for global climate action. China has also established specific targets for 2030 to help reach this aim, such as reducing its carbon intensity, the amount of emissions per GDP unit, by more than 65% from the level in 2005, raising the proportion of non-fossil fuels to approximately 25% of total energy use, bringing the combined installed power output of solar and wind energy to more than 1.2 billion kilowatts, increasing the volume of its forest reserves by 6 billion cubic meters over that of 2005. China has published an action plan for reaching peak carbon emissions by 2030, which details steps for limiting the growth of carbon emissions in a number of economic sectors, including waste management, energy, industry, transportation, construction, and agriculture. Accelerating the development of renewable energy and encouraging its integration into the electrical grid are a few of the important initiatives, reducing the amount of coal used and tightly regulating the construction of new coal-fired power plants, encouraging energy conservation and efficiency in industrial production and use, constructing high-speed rail lines, urban rail transit, and electric cars as examples of low-carbon transportation options and infrastructure. Moreover, China's strategic vision and resolve to dominate in a world that is constantly changing are reflected in this enormous investment. Such a large financial commitment is anticipated to have a knock-on impact that will redefine norms within the encouraging international collaborations and stimulate innovation. In addition to demonstrating China's financial might, the $450 billion mega project is a representation of its dedication to breaking new ground in areas that promote humankind universally. And that's all for today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. Express your valuable thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time.